I think one very interesting facet in which is accessible to our religious software, to put it simply, is the idea of Rasa and Lila.
Yeah.
Which I don't think, I've never really found a lot of other religions discussing this way.
True.
Because other religions are framed as tests, complete tests of God, right? But the fact that this is divine dance, which is characters.
There is no test.
Huh.
You will no test. The more you walk on the path and the more you evolve, you will realize, at point of time, talking to you, now when you look back, few years back, don't you think that there was a entire pattern that was set and beautifully everything was falling into place?
I'm not sure if I feel that way. I just feel like it's random events unfolding.
How?
I mean, I don't...
How random events?
I mean, it's random in the sense, I don't know how to decode if there's a pattern to it. It just happens.
No, not a pattern, but it was beautifully flowing. Not flow, beautifully things led into each other so that you're here.
I have moments where I feel that, oh, I didn't realize that significance of that is this.
Yeah.
Wow.
So at that time when you think something is wrong, you crib, you cry, you whatever, sulk in it. But later, years back when you turn around, you realize that because of that, I'm here today.
It's super accurate. It's super accurate. I had a very catastrophic career-killing moment early on in my career, and I felt so bad about it. I felt like I didn't even get a fair chance to represent myself. Now when I look back, I know I can never be smitten by fame because I've seen the downside of it.
That's it.
I'm in so many ways immune to that poison.
So the more you mature on, the more the mind goes quiet, you realize that there's a beautiful pathway given.
Right.
You just have to walk on it. Have no fear, walk on it. And even if you think you're falling, that road will take you somewhere else. Again, it will take you high. But again, the ego is funny. It takes over.
You mentioned ego a couple of times too, and I want to talk about ego. I also want to get back to Lila and Ras because that's something I think if people understood, their lives are going to be a lot better.
Yeah.
Tell me about ego. What is the ego and how does one spot it?
I have this beautiful saying, it is not ego, it should be I go. The moment I goes, you are completely good to go. That means the moment you think that I am in charge of everything and because of me everything is happening and I take credit for everything, that is the biggest downfall on the spiritual path. Ego is important. See, even in ego there are 3 egos, Sattva, Raja, Tama. So our goal is to get to Sattvic ego, but before that also, ego is very simple. The moment you take credit for anything, you will have to pay for it. Because nothing is permanent. Every credit also has a downfall. The moment you realize that I'm doing it as an offering, then you will evolve. So ego is not good or bad, but what is the worry point is the spiritual ego. That is very dangerous.
That's probably the most dangerous.
That is my point. So I'm not worried about ego because, hey, you need ego to sustain the body also.
Sure.
If you don't have ego, you'll go into samadhi.
To pass your exams, you need ego.
Yes.
Because you need to believe
ego.
you can do it.
Because
like there has to be a concentration of self.
Ego, when channelized with awareness, can give you motivation.
Fair.
But spiritual ego is very, very dangerous.
And I feel like you probably meet a lot of people of that nature in your field. Because this is the last frontier of ego. The last temptation on the road to spirituality is thinking, now I am spiritual, therefore I'm better. And now you've mixed the dirtiest part of the mind with what was an approach for the most positive part in your mind, right? That happens very often.
There's a very beautiful story. There was a great being who was on the verge of getting enlightened. Was almost there. He used to get glimpses or the flow or whatever you call it. I don't want to name it. Or samadhi or whatever. He was there and all of a sudden he had a desire that I wish I was a butterfly. He left his body. He had a life of a butterfly, lived for a few days, and then he went into his final stage. So that means wherever there is ego, there is desire, there is want, there is greed.
There's a new loop that completes. Yes.
And that spiritual desire is full of this. That is the most worry on the path. Ego, you can't operate. The divine has given you ego to sharpen your intellect. It's like a razor, the knife is used to cut the cake or kill someone. You decide.
As a matter of fact, a litmus test for how real a spiritual speaker is to me, right? Yeah. Because I speak to so many, is if I ask them about questions of ego and how humble their response is to the question of ego. Because I'm telling you as a matter, I don't know, maybe I'm intellectually not seeing this right, but you cannot pass an exam without ego. Because you first need to believe that there is a doer who is going to do a thing and then he has to work towards it. There has to be effort. I can do it. All these things have to happen.
I accept, again with the understanding
that
it will either bind you or liberate you, is up to you.
Right. This is the performance. Knowing that this is a game I'm playing.
But this ego is okay. Spiritual ego is the biggest downfall if you get entangled in that.
Fair.
That is when, you think that you are supreme, higher than others, or you get some occults, or you think that is another ball game.
So
this ego is okay. I'm talking about this ego where it is another thing.
Boss, you need to go to California to spot that. If you go to there, like people thinking they are, I've done 5 ayahuascas, so I have like, it manifests in all these different ways and becomes blocker to transcendence. I have noticed.
So when I was talking about ego, I'm talking about the spiritual ego.
Right.
That, okay, I have knowledge. No, it doesn't belong to me. That is the reason putting Kali there is very important for me, because she is the one who will chop my ego off. Spiritual ego is dangerous.
I think the reason I asked you about ego is because it's a direct antithesis, or rather, the antithesis to ego is Lila and Rasa. And if you understand that this is a divine dance, there is no way you can
Definitely. That is the reason why Kali comes in.
Yeah. Interesting.
Lila is something very beautiful. I think it's a change of perception. Either watch it as a ego game or trap, or watch it as Lila.
Right. Sure. Exactly. Those are the only 2 options you have.
Yes.
Either you get trapped in it and think this is personal.
In fact, when you evolve on the path, you realize there are no options.
Yeah, it just happens.
It just happens.
I feel you on that too. Because the grand way in which life unfolds is barely in your control. You have maybe like 2 degrees of freedom in a 100 degree of freedom game.
Imagine if someone dies today, that we both know. Someone dies today and we are not affected and we are okay. You have evolved so much.
Yeah.
Or someone, that my job is gone or things are not doing good. You have understood that ego, spiritual ego, everything. And that is an experience that you're talking about. And that is far greater than any book that you have read.
Agreed.
Then you have become an experiential being. And that knowledge, when it will talk, you will be confident. You will require no validation because you're living it.
Right. Yeah. You don't have to defend it then because it's your lived truth.
After a while, when you evolve on the path, you will not even talk about it because you'll realize that matlab hi nahi hai. मैं समझा रहा हूँ, मतलब नहीं है. वो समझे तो ठीक, नहीं समझे तो भी ठीक.
There is a very famous story about the moment Gautam Buddha awakened. And when he awakened, he realized that there is no point of speaking because people who know need no push and people who do not know will work with no push. And so 7 days he stays silent. He's of the opinion that this is it until the story goes on that many deities and devas approached him. Said, listen, there are also people on the ledge, on the boundary. And only for the sake of those people, if you spoke, they will fall on to the knowing side, then remaining on the unknowing side. And that is what convinced him to preach and teach. Such an interesting way to look at the world.
Many people ask that, what do you communicate with your guru? What is there? I think it's only silence. Because that what is unsaid, in that space, everything is communicated.
How often do you speak to your guru?
I live with her.
So you speak every day?
We just talk. The communication is always there. The Lila is always there. And when I do something wrong, just by eyes, I know that, okay, Bhavesh, abhi injection hai sham ko. So you just know. Leelas are there.
Right.
Yeah. And they crush your ego. They'll crush it. And only for your benefit. They don't expect anything. So actual guru plays a role because they have gone through it. Only when you have taken the road to Faridabad here, I know how to take the road.
Right, exactly.
So they have taken the road to Faridabad. They have come and now you're stuck somewhere. They will 20 hours ka journey, they'll make it 5 hours. Aisa, that is the reason guru is important. And a constant reminder.
Bro, अभी तो हमने बिल्कुल surface scratch किया है. If you want to know कि क्या मस्त, interesting, innovative, unique conversation, which was a full conversation, तो आप जाओ main channel पे और click करो यहाँ.